Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not worry about the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is Be Good to Yourself. And that is because on Sunday, we are having a glorious full moon at 16 degrees of Aries. And Aries is the traditional ruler of the first house in a traditional chart. And the byword for Aries is I am, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and it's a fire sign, and Aries rules new beginnings. And so this is a time, since it's a full moon, that you will be able to probably very accurately assess a new beginning that you have already made or that you are contemplating right now. Maybe you're sort of weighing the pros and cons, and you could be looking at the possibilities for some sort of new beginning. But the reason the title is called Be Good to Yourself is because not only is there, on the plus side, there's a grand trine in the earth signs, and there's another glorious grand trine in the air signs, but there are still a few little complications around that you're going to have to watch out for in the next week. And even if they are challenging to you, then at least if you can remember in the back of your head to be good to yourself, maybe you can make it through some challenging times. Because we know under a full moon that the moon opposes the sun. And so that means that in Aries on Sunday, there will be a full moon at 16 degrees, and also Jupiter is in Aries. It is much earlier in the sign. It's retrograde, and it's only at 2 degrees. It's about to leave and go back into Pisces. But under a full moon, the moon opposes the sun. So this full moon and Jupiter are being opposed by the sun at 16 degrees of Libra, and Venus, the ruler of Libra, is now in that sign, and it's at only 13 degrees. They are tightly conjuncting each other. So that makes them very powerful, and they are a part of the grand trine in the air signs. Whereas the only two planets in fire signs are the two that will be in Aries on Sunday, the full moon and Jupiter. Jupiter is still a very good planet, but they're, under a full moon, the lights, the sun and the moon, oppose each other, and that can lead to indecision and confusion. So that could represent some complications down the road as well. So that's why you should be good to yourself. There is the possibility, though, that that this is a time when some things can really be worked out on a very practical basis. And that's because the grand trine in the earth signs contains planets that have now gone direct. And that's why you can sort of move forward now, which would make an Aries happy, because Aries likes to get going. Because in the grand trine in air signs, there are not 3 retrograde planets anymore. In fact, there's only 1. Because this last week, Mercury went direct in Virgo, and it rules Virgo, so it's very strong there. And it is trining Pluto in Capricorn, which also went direct. So both of these planets are going forward. And Virgo rules facts and details, and Pluto in Capricorn rules people in high authority that have to make decisions or form policies about things. Because Capricorn rules your 10th house of career, business, and large government agencies, and so on. So these 2 direct planets now are trining the only retrograde planet in a earth sign, and that is Uranus in Taurus, which is a fixed financial sign. But because they're all in good aspect, and there's more power in planets that are going forward instead of backward, it simply means that this is a wonderful time for you to reassess your investment strategy or your job, as far as your salary goes or what your benefits are. Capricorn rules benefits, particularly long-term benefits like a pension plan. And you could be looking all those things over right now, and it is possible that you could make a sort of a favorable adjustment in an investment, or you could work out financial details a little bit better, and that's because you'd have more details to rely upon. And so by looking at those, you can say, okay, well, we've got to make some adjustments, and that would be due to the current economic times. And because they're not like the old days, and that's why we would have to sort of face up to what's going on now and make financial adjustments. And that could be due to high inflation or high debt or even war. And then, to help you along with that, there is a grand trine in the air signs. Remember, I mentioned that the Sun and Venus are conjuncting each other in Libra. That's awfully good for the things that Libra rules. And it rules peace and partnership. It rules love and marriage. It rules compromise and diplomacy and negotiations. And it also rules, above all, the law and all legal contracts. And these two planets in Libra are trining two very strong planets. Mars, which is direct in Gemini, and Saturn, which is retrograde in Aquarius. So that's 4 planets in the air signs all trining each other, which means that the communication can just flow. In fact, the ruler of Aries, where the full moon is on Sunday, is Mars. And Mars is in Gemini, the sign of conversation, and very good communication and easy transitional change. And so there is the possibility that through better communication, there can be legal or partnership issues which can be successfully altered in some way to reflect not only the current economic conditions, but to bring about some sort of settlement. In other words, if people are fighting for one reason or another, that can get real expensive after a while, and it doesn't accomplish anything. You don't go anywhere when you're fighting. And so there is the possibility that some legal or partnership issue can be successfully altered to bring about a better reconciliation or settlement or ending to something. Or it could be that some partnership issue has to be altered in one way or another. In other words, perhaps amended, particularly if it had already been finalized once. Maybe it'll get finalized again. So that can be helpful as well. But there are complications that can sort of creep up at any time. And those are the things you need to watch out for. And one of them is that there are 5 planets that are in a harsh T-cross among the cardinal signs. Well, that's half of all the planets in the heavens, so we've got to pay attention to that. And those cardinal signs involve the full moon, because the 4 cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And so the full moon and Jupiter in Aries are being opposed by the Sun and Venus, which are stronger actually because they're conjuncting, and Venus is at home in the sign it rules. And those 4 planets, which includes the lights, are all being squared by that Pluto in Capricorn, which is now direct. So I mean, it's going to have its say. And perhaps when it was retrograde, people at a high level could have been going over the facts and the details and forming decisions or making new policies. And because that Pluto is direct now, it can be influencing new beginnings. And that's why I'm suggesting that you be good to yourself in the next week, because Pluto squaring the full moon and Jupiter, which is retrograde in Aries, means that a new beginning may get changed and perhaps even eliminated. And so, or have to be redone, so it sort of goes off the books. Or it can simply be that a new beginning in the current economic climate that we are in will have to be sort of shelved because it's not affordable. That could be possible too. And then that Pluto is also squaring Venus and the Sun in Libra. Now, whenever Venus and Pluto or Saturn square or oppose each other, it is a sign of a betrayal. And so that's another little wrinkle that we're all going to have to live with. There can be some sort of a betrayal. It might be within a partnership, or it might be that a new beginning that somebody wants to make gets canceled. It probably would be due for financial reasons or policy changes that can't be helped right now. And so these 5 planets are really not getting along right now. And among the 5 planets, there's only one that's retrograde. And that's Jupiter in Aries, which is very soon to leave Aries. So you have to be a little bit careful now and watch out for lasting tension in a partnership. Because remember, there's a betrayal somewhere around. And so there could be lasting tension in a partnership. And so sooner or later, somebody's got to decide, okay, well, do I want to keep going on with this or just eliminate it? Just say goodbye. And so that lasting tension is, in a way, since Pluto is squaring the Sun and Venus in Libra, it can mean that there can be changes at the top in management or real changes in policies that have to be redone, because people at the top have been thinking about, okay, how do I want my company to go forward, or how can we work efficiently on less staff and less income? And they'll have to think about that. But once they decide, it means that there might be a betrayal leading to changes in management at the top. So there's that to consider. The next thing that you would want to consider, remember you're trying to be good to yourself still, is that there are some planets that are very harshly aspecting each other. In fact, exactly. And the first pair of planets like that are Mars, which is in Gemini at 23 degrees today. And remember, it's part of a fabulous grand trine in the air signs, 4 planets in air signs. And it's direct, it's doing fine. But because of that, and because Mars rules war and aggression and jealousy, hate and envy, and it's in a communication sign, it is exactly squaring Neptune, which is retrograde in Pisces. And Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. So there can, and retrograde planets are just a little bit weaker. Now Neptune is at home in the sign it rules. It's still very strong. But that retrograde motion going backward means just it's thinking things over a little bit more. And so this simply means, since both planets are at the exact same degree, the square is as harsh as it can possibly be. They're both at 23 degrees. And that means that there can be confusion and deceptions around, and a lot of people do not know who to trust. So it's a little hard to believe what people are saying, or it's going to be a little bit hard to think that somebody who's making you a good offer or a good deal really means it. I mean, it would be a good idea to get everything in writing right now. Because the third thing that could stop you for a while or prove to be a complication is another exact square between 2 planets. These are 2 malefic planets, though. They can get you in trouble no matter what. But when they're in exact harsh square, they can provide more trouble. That's why you got to be good to yourself in the next week. And that is because Uranus, which is retrograde in Taurus, is exactly squaring Saturn, which is retrograde in Aquarius. So both of these planets are retrograde. That's an indication that something's definitely going to have to get redone, and it will have to do with your money, because Taurus is a fixed financial sign, and it will have to do with your future, because Aquarius rules the future. But these two planets, which aren't getting along anyway and are retrograde, simply means that there can be a rather high degree of financial insecurity right now. Like nobody's too sure what's happening with the money in the future. And they can feel very uneasy about that, and they should. So we have an opportunity to solve some problems, to clear up partnership issues, to have changes in our lives, but they may not all be pleasant changes. And so a new beginning in particular is going to have to be either shelved and postponed or eliminated or redone in some way. So I don't think it's going to really get off the ground at the moment. And so that's why you should try to be good to yourself, because no matter which way you turn, you're probably going to run into something that's going to be worrying you this week. And just remember, the sky is not really falling in, and planets do move on. And even if a new beginning that you'd been counting on in the past doesn't work out, if you're smart enough to think of one new beginning, you are smart enough to think of another one. And so maybe this is just a time when you can take a time out and sort of rethink or even re-stimulate your creative mind and get going in a new direction. At least I hope so. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. That full moon on Sunday is in your sign. So the light's going to be on you, Aries. But at the same time, there can be a partnership issue which either has a lot of tension in it, and so you may be thinking, oh gee, I want to make a new start, but not with that partner. Or else you can be deciding that there is a legal issue or a partnership issue that really has to be straightened out and settled. And I would say finalized. And so you could try that. I would suggest that you do try that, because Jupiter is still in your sign. It's only at 2 degrees. And it's quickly leaving and going back into Pisces. But it is still in your sign. And so just because you may not get everything that you wanted or originally planned on, and there aren't any other planets in fire signs, so there's no support. There's nothing in Leo and there's nothing in Sagittarius. Still, Aries, I think that if you sort of take the high road and say that, well, you're having a little problem here, either in a relationship or a legal matter or something like that, but if you, instead of just locking horns, if you could decide, oh, well, okay, let's try to settle this so we can go on our own way. Because Aries, you're just the sign of the pioneer. And the minute that you're free from something, you can go in a new direction. And even if one plan fails, you can make an adjustment and sort of make a transition that will lead you in another new direction. And that's because your ruler Mars is in Gemini, and Gemini sextiles your sign. And so I would say that you can't handle too many things right now. You should finish one thing and then get started in a new direction. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. This is a time, Taurus, when there can be financial instability in your life. But Taurus, join the crowd. Everybody is very uncertain about future economic conditions because there are fluctuations in the value of our investments, up one day and down about the next 5. That's not a good way to go. And so, Taurus, there can be an emphasis now on plans that can be successfully altered due to the current financial conditions. So if you wanted to make a change in your work, or in the way you handle your retirement plan, or in your health care costs, whether it's the insurance or whether you have health care bills. You could do that. And the reason why is that 2 planets went direct in the last week, and they both trine your sun. So now Uranus, which is retrograde in your sign, is trining Mercury in Virgo, which is direct. Well, Mercury rules Virgo. Of the 3 planets in the earth signs, it's the strongest one because it's at home in the sign it rules. So if you were concentrating on your health care costs, or getting in better shape, or something that has to do with occupations that are of service to others, or just doing a job better, in a better way, you could do that. But Pluto in Capricorn is also trining your sun, and it too just went direct. And so it simply means that there could be changes at the top, but they wouldn't necessarily hurt you, Taurus. In fact, they might help you. Or there could be changes in policies that also would help you. Both Mercury and Pluto are trining your sign. It's just that nobody can actually predict what financial resources they can count on right now, because the world economy is going through change. And I don't mean that it's going up. I think it's going down. And I don't know if it's due to higher employment. It's certainly due to higher inflation, because money isn't worth as much anymore. And that can throw a monkey wrench in a lot of business plans. So anyway, I think that you might profit if you are a little bit more careful about watching your money right now, Taurus. I would suggest you not do any extra spending. Instead, just see if there aren't some new policies, or see if you can go over the details or plans more carefully, and maybe try to save a little bit of money. You could do that. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time when you're sort of in the right place at the right time, Gemini. Now, in order to do what? Well, in order to go forward, perhaps at a high speed, Gemini, because Mars is in your sign, but it is part of 4 planets that are in a grand trine in the air signs right now. So Gemini, you can be very instrumental in and successfully promoting your own plans, or going forward. You could be planning not just 1 trip, but maybe 2. They might be short trips though. One could be a business trip, one could be a vacation, who knows. But Mars in your sign is trining both the Sun and Venus, which are conjuncting each other in Libra. And Venus rules Libra, so it is very strong there. And besides, it's being conjuncted by the Sun. And Libra rules partnership, or it rules deals, or it rules legal matters, and certainly the law. And so if you were wanting to reach an amicable agreement with somebody, or to form a new partnership that would be very congenial, Mars in your sign is trining Venus, that's wonderful, that's very nice for everybody. You could do that, Gemini. So this is a time for you to look up new information if you need new resources for something, or to go and see people, talk to them face to face, or contact people in one way or another, or just reach out, Gemini. You sort of can't lose right now if you do that. I mean, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Let's put it that way. And then the only retrograde planet in an air sign is Saturn in Aquarius, which is trining your Sun, and it's trining that Sun and Venus in Libra. So 2 of the 3 malefic planets, Mars and Saturn, are trining each other, which is very compatible. And then, the extra bonus is that the Sun and Venus are trining both of them. So that's why I don't think you can lose right now, Gemini, particularly if you reach out. This is a time when you should turn on the charm. You should get out and meet people. And always leave something behind. Present them with a card or some way to reach you, because they could have other things on their mind, but if you make a good impression on them, they could call you back or contact you again. And that way you are just putting out a lot of feelers and getting a lot of support for that at the same time. So that would be a good idea. Be good to yourself, Gemini. The stars are with you. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Cancer. This is a time, Cancer, since yours is a cardinal sign, that you could be questioning which way to go. And the reason why is that there are 5 planets in a harsh T-cross in the cardinal signs, and they all square or oppose your sun sign. That could be a little hard to live with, Cancer, and that is because on Sunday, the full moon in Aries and Jupiter in Aries are squaring your sun, which means that a new beginning could be put on hold or delayed or postponed in some way. And then the sun and Venus in Libra are also squaring your sun. And that's too bad because those are very good planets. And so that means that it could be, you might be involved in some sort of lasting tension in a partnership that is making you uncomfortable. Cancers have very soft hearts and they're very sympathetic to other people, but they get their feelings hurt rather easily. And that could certainly be happening to you in the next week, Cancer, because Pluto, which has gone direct now in Capricorn, is also opposing your sun sign. So all 5 planets are sort of dumping their challenges into your sign, Cancer. And what can you do? Well, you could be overwhelmed in the next week by problems that, you're not necessarily causing the problems, but you may have to deal with them, and they could represent complications or indecision and confusion. And because Pluto, which is opposing your sun, is also squaring Venus in Libra, which indicates a betrayal, and Venus is squaring your sun, there could be some sort of betrayal in your own life, Cancer, and or around you. Even if it didn't happen to you, it could be pretty close to home. And so you would have to sort of deal with that. Now, Neptune in Pisces is still trining your sun, but it's retrograde, and it is under duress right now because Mars in Gemini is exactly squaring it. So if you wanted to go behind the scenes and get some help from others, they might be a little too busy for you right now. Maybe you can't quite get that help. Maybe their schedules are full already, something like that. So you will have to develop a lot of patience right now, Cancer, and just realize that tension in a partnership could result in changes at the top, but at the same time, there can be some legal or partnership issues that can be successfully altered to work out better for people. That might affect you in one way or another. And also, this is just a better time for you when people are rather strident in their opinions, and Cancers have tender hearts. They don't actually like to get in fights. And so you might want to sit something out this week, Cancer, or just stay home. Nothing wrong with that. You're always happy at home. And there's plenty to do around your own home. So be good to yourself, Cancer. And don't let anybody else upset your apple cart. If something is really bothering you, then go home and close the door and try to relax if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo. That full moon on Sunday in Aries, along with Jupiter there, are both trining your sun, Leo. You can certainly be contemplating some kind of new beginning. Or you could be seeing, since Aries is a cardinal sign and there's 5 planets in harsh T-cross among cardinal signs, you can be seeing that a new beginning is sort of moving off into the distance right now. And that would be too bad. But it doesn't mean that it's, over forever. It could be that it's postponed. And that could be due to current financial conditions, where companies can be making changes at the top in policies, or they can be cutting staff and budgets because they have to be making it through an uncertain economic period, covering the winter and probably next spring as well. And I'm not saying that things are necessarily going to get better after that. I'm just saying that for sure it's going to be at least, say, the next 6 or 9 months when something that you sort of were really wanting to do, Leo, I think is going to get put on hold or postponed. And it could be due to some lasting tension in a partnership, or it can be due to legal terms that people cannot get together on. Or they can simply be due to changes at the top. If new management comes in, they could change everything. And so Leo, you might be a little bit let down or disappointed by that. And then remember, I mentioned that there are specific squares among other planets which can affect everybody. And then one of them in particular would affect you, Leo. And it is that Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun. And that Uranus in Taurus is also squaring Saturn in Aquarius exactly. And these are two malefic planets. And that Saturn is opposing your sun. I mean, there could be a setback, Leo. And it's due to financial conditions that are beyond your control. So don't get too upset about that, because it's not in your control. So you just have to live with that. Or it can be that people want to restructure their future plans, maybe because they need to. I would say you need to do that too, Leo. And that's because Saturn is still retrograde, but Uranus is retrograde too. And so these two malefic planets in very harsh aspect are having an adverse effect on everybody, because one of them is a financial sign, Taurus, but they are having an adverse effect, or can be very challenging, particularly to the fixed signs, because they square and oppose the fixed signs. So, they're doing that to your sign, and they're also doing it to the sign of Scorpio. So I don't think something's going to come out the way you had wanted it to, or not as quickly as you had wanted it to. But that doesn't mean, it has more to do with the financial terms of something than it has to do with you, Leo. In other words, it's not a personal thing. It's a financial thing, or a business thing, or a legal thing. And so, since the full moon and Jupiter are trining your sun, particularly at the start of next week, you should try to be really good to yourself, Leo. Do something that you would really enjoy. Do something that's relaxing. Or be around people that you really like. That'll make you feel good. So just remember, that's why the show is titled Be Good to Yourself. Because there can be pretty strong reasons why we all have to try to do that. Because there's going to be little roadblocks in our path. But we can still go forward. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, when you can just be thinking much more clearly. And the reason why is that Mercury, your own ruler, which is in your sign, has gone direct in your sign, and now it's being trined by another planet that just went direct, Pluto in Capricorn, which means you can be seen in a very good light by people at the top who may be your boss, or it might even be your boss's boss, Virgo. Or it can be that your work records sort of speaks for itself. And so that's good, because if there are changes at the top, that could create more changes that influence people below the top person, but for you they would be the changes would influence you positively. It wouldn't be negative. And it would be based on answers or work you had done already that proves that you know what you're doing. And that's what people are looking for. Everybody is looking for the genuine article these days. People who are really sincere, people who have done the work and they know what they're doing, and so they can go forward now. In other words, if you're paying a salary to somebody like that, it's money well spent. And so that can be happening for you, Virgo, which is very good. It's also a time when you are going to need to redo the value of your investments because they will be fluctuating. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to turn out badly. It just means you've got to readjust things, which you're fully capable of doing, because Uranus in Taurus is retrograde, but it is trining your sun and it's trining Pluto in Capricorn as well. So if you just sort of keep your nose to the grindstone, Virgo, and just keep going along and working and really pay attention to your budget, you should come out all right. You know, there are 3 planets that are at home in the sign they rule right now. Mercury in your sign, then right ahead of your sign is Venus in Libra, which is conjuncting the sun. That's pretty good for your partnerships or for a legal deal. If there was a legal contract being offered to you, Virgo, it would be on very favorable terms. There wouldn't be anything to argue about. You should sign it. And then Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. Neptune is opposing your sun sign, though. That means it can be sort of hard for you to know who to trust. And so you have to be a little bit careful not to jump to too many conclusions, because they might be based on faulty information. Or you know, I wouldn't be too decisive about anything right now, Virgo. Certainly you should sign a good contract. That would be fine. And if you get a new boss, they will like you a whole bunch, so you don't have anything to worry about there. But if you're forming personal opinions about people based on, say, the rumors of what you've heard about them, that would not be a good idea. Don't come to a conclusion that is just based on hearsay or rumors, because there might be some omissions or deceptions that have been left out. So try not to pay attention to stuff like that. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Libra. Well, Libra, certainly there should be a good legal matter or partnership matter that can work out pretty well for you. At least you could be making a connection with somebody who can be quite helpful to you, Libra. And you can be very helpful to others as well. And the reason why is that the Sun and Venus in your sign are both conjuncting each other. That's wonderful. The Sun is at 16 degrees in your sign, and Venus is at 13 degrees, and they are part of a grand trine in air signs. So Mars in Gemini is trining Venus and the Sun in your sign, and so is Saturn in Aquarius. Now Saturn is retrograde, and it is under very harsh aspects because Uranus in Taurus is squaring it. So there can be some sort of like unfinished business that has to do with a financial matter, and that needs to be cleared up. While you have the Sun and Venus in your sign, you should look at legal matters, and look at them really closely. I mean, read the fine print, Libra, because you can do a good job at sort of going over things and reconciling them. Remember, legal or partnership issues can be successfully altered now due to current financial conditions. I mean, the economies of all the countries of the world have changed, and they haven't gotten better. They've all gotten weaker in one way, or they've overspent, or they're involved in very expensive programs that is creating inflation instead of defeating it. And so, okay, everybody's got financial worries right now, but Libra, you could go over the fine details of something and maybe alter, if you're in any kind of legal situation, you could maybe alter successfully the terms of a legal or partnership issue based on current economic conditions, which didn't exist probably whenever that legal matter was brought up before. I mean, times have changed so much, people do have to reconsider past agreements, mainly because they may not be able to be fulfilled. And so people have to be a little bit more flexible. Well, the air signs are very flexible. And so I think that you're going to do just fine. I would just say pay attention to the fine print, the small details. And you can do that because Mercury is at home in Virgo, and that's the sign right behind your sun sign. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Scorpio. Well, Scorpio, the good news is that Neptune in Pisces, which is retrograde, is still trining your sun, which is nice. It means you can still go behind the scenes and find out some information about people that they had thought was cleverly hidden, but you could find out the truth. And it could be the kind of truth that you had never suspected. And yet, when a fact comes up and you examine it and it's true, then, you know, you got to be good to yourself, Scorpio, because it could be very surprising to you and perhaps even disillusioning. See, Neptune is retrograde. And so, or else it could be deceptive. You could be learning something and thinking it was the truth without realizing, there's more to that story. Or you're not aware of which facts are true and which ones are false. But Scorpio is the sign of the detective, and you could go behind the scenes and find out just about anything, Scorpio, if you really wanted to. So remember, the two signs that are best at being a detective are Scorpio and Capricorn. And so Capricorns like to follow every single fact. They don't skip steps. You know, they really, they cover all the ground, not just some of the ground. And Scorpios go very, very deep down into some matter, searching for the truth. Because your co-ruler is Pluto. Your sign is ruled by two rulers, Mars and Pluto. Pluto rules the deep truth about something or someone. And usually that is fairly well hidden. And so it would take a Scorpio having to sort of dive into the history of somebody or the facts about something or the psychological makeup of somebody before they really understood them. And you could do that, Scorpio, if you wanted to spend all your time on that. But actually, there's, you know, some harsh aspects to your sun sign. And you have to pay attention to that because it's like coming right at you. And it is because Uranus in Taurus, the other fixed financial sign, is opposing your sun sign. Well, it's been doing that for years, and it's retrograde right now. But by itself, it has run up against a brick wall right now, and that's going to affect you because it is exactly squaring Saturn in Aquarius, which is retrograde, and Aquarius rules the future. That's why no one can be sure of their financial security right now. Not in the future anyway, because there's too many unknowns. War being one of them. And inflation, you know, I think it's going to take a long time for economies to stabilize. And it's going to be a cold winter. So these two malefic planets are in an exact harsh aspect to each other. And they're both affecting your sign, Scorpio, because Uranus and Taurus opposes your sun sign, which means your finances can fluctuate. And that isn't just the money that you have, Scorpio, it's the costs. The cost of something could go up and down, and that could affect your budget a lot. And then Saturn in Aquarius is squaring your sun sign, and because it's retrograde and it rules the future, some of your future plans are seriously on hold right now. And I don't think you're going to be able to find a way out of that at the moment. So you have to be very careful in your negotiations with people, but just remember there is a grand trine in the earth signs and another one in the air signs, and that simply means that a legal issue or a partnership issue can be successfully altered due to current economic conditions. So that would benefit both parties. It might not be what everybody wanted, but it would benefit both parties, and it would be realistic. And so, somebody who had made a financial deal at one price, and then inflation has changed everything, raised the prices, and economies have gotten weaker, so the costs go down because there are staff cuts or materials are hard to find or something like that. Instead of continually insisting that something's got to be righted when these are conditions beyond most people's control, it really would be better for people to get together and just say, okay, this isn't the good old days. Let's renegotiate something according to what's happening financially now. And I see that as the only way to get over anything, is to be more realistic. And so, okay, somebody doesn't get everything that they were promised or wanted at one time, but at the same time, both parties can find some sort of agreement by altering the conditions of a prior agreement in light of the current financial conditions. And I think that is the way to settle something. I mean, fixed signs don't mind a fight, but we all get older. Who wants to keep fighting for the rest of their lives? That's no good. So the 4 fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And this is a time when they just have to realize it's much better to settle. It's much better to go your own way. There are new beginnings that aren't going to make it right now. They're either going to be postponed or eliminated because maybe there's not enough money around, or maybe there's changes at the top and policies change, or maybe there's so much tension in a partnership that is lasting that nothing gets resolved. Well, that's not just one person's fault. That's both sides' fault. So, Scorpio, you need to think about how to survive yourself. Just yourself. And so, once again, just be good to yourself if you can. But live to go on. If you're in a controversy, I strongly suggest that you do everything you can to get out of it, so that you can live a better life in the future. And that might mean that you have to alter a few things, but it's better than sinking. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Sagittarius. This is a time, Sagittarius, when you can be pretty lucky, because that full moon in Aries along with Jupiter in Aries are both trining your sun on Sunday. So you could decide, oh gee, there's an opportunity for a new beginning that I've always wanted to go on, so I think I'll do that. I mean, these planets are trining your sun. That's great. But Jupiter isn't going to stay in Aries. I mean, it's only at 2 degrees. It's got 2 more degrees to go, and it's out of Aries. And because Aries is a cardinal sign, and there's 5 planets in a harsh T-crossing cardinal signs, it is doubtful that a new beginning that you had wanted to make is going to come about the way you wanted it to come about, or else it's going to be postponed. It's not going to happen when you thought it would. And this is due to things that are beyond your control, Sagittarius. So, I mean, be good to yourself and don't blame anybody else. You could probably point a few fingers at people, but you know, Sagittarians are pretty high-minded people. Sagittarius rules religion and philosophy and a broad universal or international outlook. And so Sagittarius go around with little antennas that seek to understand a lot of people in a broad way. And that's why Sagittarius rules higher education, graduate schools, international organizations, people from foreign countries, you know, and as I said, religion and philosophy. So if a new beginning doesn't really work out the way you wish it would, and perhaps not at this time, I wouldn't give up hope on it, Sagittarius. But at the same time, in a way, you are going to have to sort of look at problems that are a little closer to home right now. And the reason why is that yours is a mutable sign. And the mutable signs are being challenged right now because Mars in Gemini is opposing your sun, and it's part of a grand trine in air signs. It's very revved up and strong. And then Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sun as well. And it is retrograde. So, Sagittarius, you might have been kidding yourself about something or about somebody else behind the scenes. Or you might be kidding yourself about a dream that you've always had that you'd like to just follow through on. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your dream, Sagittarius. It means you have to bring that whole issue a little closer to you. And by that I mean you have to say, well, I'd love to have that dream come true, but at this stage in my life, do I have the energy for it? Do I have the money for it? Do I have the time for it? Because I've always wanted it. But you have to look at the practical side of life. Oh, that may not be any fun for you, but you do have to do that. We all do. And that's why you should try to be good to yourself. This weekend, the full moon does trine your sun. So I hope you're doing something that inspires you this weekend, that makes you feel really good. Because you could. And there's also the possibility that you could alter your ideas or your plans to fit your current situation a little bit better without putting too much strain on yourself. And that would be okay too. So I hope you consider it. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Capricorn. This is a time, Capricorn, when you might just feel like you're a lot more in the driver's seat. And you are. And the reason why is that Pluto in your sign has gone direct now, and it is trining Mercury in Virgo, which has also gone direct. That can be awfully good news for your health condition or for your health insurance in one way or another, or the cost of it, and or any details that have to do with occupations that are of service to others, or things that involve very careful details and facts. You would benefit from, for instance, reading the fine print on anything. You would do quite well with that, Capricorn. And also you could be feeling a lot more powerful because you could be feeling as if you've made it through a period of doubt. That's something that retrograde planets, that's why they go retrograde, because something is doubtful. And then planets go backward and they go over the same territory that they covered in their orbit before, and they find out more information, and then they go direct with that new information. And that could be happening to you, Capricorn, because Pluto is a planet of powerful truth, deep psychological transformation and change. And you may have gone through some change, particularly when there were so many retrograde planets. There's still 4 of them, but that's fewer than we've had in a long time. And so you could be thinking that you're sort of back in the saddle, or you're feeling better now, or you have an idea of how to go forward and do things a little bit more on your own terms. And that is extremely important to you right now, Capricorn, that you're able to do things on your own terms. And I think you will be able to, as long as you pay attention to a lot of the facts and details, which you can, because Mercury is trining your sun. And it's the one in the earth signs that's at home in the sign it rules. So I mean, really ask questions, look up details. They'll benefit you, Capricorn. And then these 2 good planets are trining Uranus in Taurus, which is retrograde. And that Uranus is under harsh aspects. It's exactly squaring Saturn in Aquarius, which is right in front of your sun sign. So your future plans may have to be redone because of the current financial conditions around. For instance, everything has gone up. I mean, we are all victims of inflation now. And if you are a person, say, that has retired, your sign rules retirement, and you're living on a fixed income and the costs go up, then you need to be real careful how you handle your money, because it's not going to go as far as it used to. And so that's what I mean. You could be feeling powerful, but you've got to make sure that you're able to go forward on your own terms. And you are the best judge of what your own terms are. You know yourself best. So this is a time when you really should trust yourself, Capricorn. And as far as money goes, I would be a little more careful with it. Try to be more economical. Capricorns are very economical, but try even harder so that you're not as deeply affected by inflation. There's no way to get out of it, but people can change what they buy at the store, or they can change their health habits in a way that they're not spending so much money. And that is the way to keep a little bit more of your own money, and that's the only way to beat inflation. Actually, you can't beat inflation, but keeping your hands on your own money right now could be hard work, but it's very important to do, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius. This is a time, Aquarius, when you're sort of wondering where the money's going to come from. And the reason why is that Saturn in your sign, which is retrograde, and it's been in your sign for a couple of years, is exactly being squared by Uranus in Taurus, which is also retrograde. So there's a financial matter, Aquarius. It could even be from long ago, or from some legal matter or partnership issue from the past that can prove to be rather challenging to you right now, Aquarius. But yours is an air sign, and there is a grand trine in the air signs of 4 planets. There's more planets in the air signs than there is in any other element. And so the Sun and Venus in Libra, which rule legal dealings, are trining your Sun, which means that you can straighten out some legal issues that you have not understood or that were done long ago, and they can be successfully altered under the current economic conditions. So you could work on that and probably be successful, which I think you should do. And then that Mars in Gemini is also trine your Sun. Mars is a malefic planet. It's full of energy. And it is trining Saturn in your sign. These are 2 very strong malefic planets that are not hurting you, Aquarius. You should be thanking your lucky stars just for that, because you also have the Sun and Venus trining your Sun. So you are in a position, perhaps, to move ahead in a very clear-thinking way, and you could alter the terms of a prior legal or partnership agreement so that reflects more the current financial situation today. Which means that if you settle something, you get something. Just remember, it might not be everything that was promised before, but you get something. And settling is the only way to get it. And so I hope that you don't just dig in your heels and get real stubborn about a financial issue, Aquarius, because it's going to do you no good with that Uranus and Taurus exactly squaring Saturn. You need to work with the planets that are in the air signs, not the earth signs, the air signs. Talk to people, negotiate, compromise, and eventually that will lead to something that you want. Might not be everything you want, but at least you're able to settle it. So I wish you the best. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time, Pisces, when you might just feel as if somebody is trying to stab you in the back. Oh, that's no fun. But actually, there is a very harsh square between Mars, which rules sharp instruments, by the way, in Gemini at 23 degrees, exactly squaring Neptune, your own ruler, which is retrograde in your sign, Pisces. And so somebody could want to cause trouble for you right now. And, Mars represents war, jealousy, anger, hate, greed, envy. But it's in the sign that rules youth. Gemini rules youth. And so there can be danger around you now, Pisces. And it might come from gang warfare, or it can come from people who want to lure you into developing a bad habit. Because, Pisces, your sign rules escape. It rules escape through alcoholism, drug addiction, or sexual promiscuity. And that kind of escape is done by people who either can't handle a situation that's making them very unhappy, or they won't handle it. But either way, they're sort of drowning themselves in other things that aren't good for them because they're in pain, actually. So I hope that's not you, Pisces. But that's the reason behind all that kind of escape. And that's why the show is titled, Be Good to Yourself. If you are in any kind of pain, or if you're around people, particularly people that can be violent, that want to cause you some pain, you better get out of there, Pisces. You cannot trust that everybody is an angel. They're not. And in economic times where our money isn't buying as much, and the conditions around us are financially iffy, you don't know who to trust, and they don't necessarily want to trust you either. And so this would be a good time for you to withdraw a little bit, Pisces. That full moon on Sunday is right ahead of your sun sign. You could be looking at the possibility of making a new start. And because that full moon and Jupiter in Aries are so harshly aspected by a T-cross of 5 planets in the cardinal signs, I would say don't strain yourself, Pisces. You could be looking and hoping and wishing for some sort of new start, but I'm not really certain that it's going to happen right now. It might be postponed due to budget cuts. It might just sort of disappear because nobody can afford it. Whatever happens, I don't think that some glorious new beginning that you can see and envision for yourself, I'm not so sure that's really going to get off the ground right now, Pisces. But you might be able to count yourself lucky if there is a delay, because maybe there's more to find out about that. And with Mars so harshly squaring Neptune in your own sign, I think that this is a time when you should sort of gear up for safety. Keep your guard up. Don't trust everybody. Even something in writing, if it's not dated and signed, then ask that it is. And if somebody says, oh, I don't need to sign this, well, I don't need the date on it, well, then you don't need to do business with them. Because there might be something untrustworthy about that. And you do not want to walk into a trap, Pisces. That's what I'm saying. And so this is a time to be good to yourself, pull back a little bit, and just like Cancer, sort of go home and enjoy yourself. Count your blessings. Jupiter is just about to come into your sign. And so things are going to change. I don't think they're quite ready to change yet. And perhaps you are not either quite ready. So just be patient with yourself if you can, and be good to yourself. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can read the blog and actually see the show on my website, starborninstitute.org, or I'd be happy to send it to you on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. if you would like to subscribe to my Karen Campbell YouTube channel. So until then, I'll see you next week. Bye.